It's the Exit 52 podcast, Sunday night series recap of the Orioles series versus the Tampa Bay Rays. My name is Jake Luke, and I'm joined by summertime spin, gentle spin Crangshaw. How are we doing on this Sunday night, my friend?
Doing pretty well. I think I got 3 rounds of golf in this week, so fun week. The Orioles, I headed down to the yard on Friday, saw them beat the Rays 3-1 on the double by mi hermano, su hermano, Jorge Mateo, who now hopefully not concussed. A little weird incident in this game that, hey, you never know, maybe could have made the difference of them winning in a close game if Mateo was able to still be out there. But the Orioles lose on Sunday, but it doesn't really matter. They had already won 2 against the Rays. They maintain their dominance, their superiority in the AL East. I believe that is 19 straight series wins with 4 series splits, if I'm not mistaken. So the Orioles have done an outstanding job against the AL East. It feels like they have a defined plan and didn't have a lot of gas left in the tank, especially the bullpen on Sunday, but they did empty it. Saturday was a slugfest and, got into the bullpen pretty deep. Friday, they needed a little bit of help there too. So, hey, bullpen, not quite able to get it done in a close, somewhat low-scoring game. But the Orioles continue to win series, especially against the AL East, and things could be a lot worse in Birdland.
Yeah, you mentioned that I think before we got going that some of these series these weekend series seem to follow like a similar tenor, where like on Friday night you get there and it's kind of like a lazy sort of workman-like win, just kind of that first night game of the week, and then Saturday they come out in the day game, they just let the roof off the place, they get the fireworks going, and they have a ton of fun. And then Sunday, sometimes you get a close one, and it's tough to win every single close game. I think they have a decent record in them, though. I don't have it in front of me. And come out on the wrong end of one today, losing 4-3 with the bullpen having some issues. Dylan Tate, particularly in the 8th, I think was kind of what wound up giving it away after really another gem from Cole Irvin, who, it's really hard to measure the impact that this guy is having for them, especially with the news that just came out about John Means and obviously Tyler Wells as well. It's huge what Cole Irvin is doing for this ball club. It sucks they couldn't get him a win today, but I think it really underscores the point that they're deeper than some people might realize. Even Orioles fans might realize it at certain points when it comes to pitching, because he's a guy that you just don't think of when you have a Corbin Burns and a Grayson Rodriguez at the top of the pitching staff there, with Kyle Bradish in the mix as well. So.
Yeah, most certainly. Sunday, today, a poor performance in terms of leaving guys on base. Cedric Mullins leaves a couple on late. Ryan Mountcastle grounds into a double play with the bases loaded and 1 out to end the inning. First pitch swinging on a slider that was, it was all right. It was a little under the zone there. Hits one right to third base. Rays turn a double play out of it and get out of the inning. So the Orioles had their chances, and that's really the thing. Even in a series, of course, when you lose on the last game of the series, people have more of a bitter taste in their mouth than sweet. You can see it on the Twitter sphere, but they still had chances to win. It is very rare to see them not. Late in games, late in series, things of that nature. So Cole Irvin, really effective, able to get himself out of a couple of jams. Maybe the Rays, third time through the order, started to get to him a little bit. They go to Tate. Tate gets out of it. Tate comes in. A lot of talk about the bullpen, moving pieces, moving parts a lot. The bullpen's taxed and gassed in ways. Some guys have been worked a ton. They're still pitching well. I know that, people, you can get into the advanced analytics and be like, oh, well, maybe they're average, but it's not a poor unit by any means. Is it a championship unit? No, definitely not in this iteration of it. And do they lack maybe that horse that you can go say, all right, go blow the doors off guys, go get strikeouts and dominate? Yeah, they don't really have that right now. Coulomb isn't that far from that, in my opinion. I think he has inherited 13 runners and stranded all 13 of them to this point. So Coulomb's up there, but still maybe not that power arm on the back end. Kimbrel quietly, I think to this point, since his blow up and injuries and things like that, he has pitched, I think, 6 2/3 scoreless, hitless innings. It might not be hitless, but I know 6 2/3 scoreless. So he's settled in a little bit, looks to be himself. Yennier Cano is not 2023 Yennier Cano. I feel like the book, to a degree, is out on him a little bit. If it's high, swing at it. If it's low, don't. That kind of feels like it. If it's up here, it's probably coming down. If it's around the belly button, around the chest there, it's probably going to land into the zone. Those are what you want to swing at. Still one of the best ground ball pitchers out of the bullpen in baseball, is an elite ground ball rate. So is this unit an awesome unit? No. Is it a bad unit? I don't think so either. But they could get figured out a little bit more. Cionel Perez, I think, has been nice and starting to look like himself from 2022, a little bit more so than the struggles he had last year. So moves to be made, things of that nature. But again, we're talking about the bullpen in a game where they were taxed through the series, and the Orioles left, 10, 12 guys on base. I didn't see the exact box score number, but if you have 13 hits,
Jacob Calvin Meyer, the Orioles lost 4-3 today to the Rays despite recording 15 hits. It's the 8th time in Orioles history they've recorded at least 15 hits and 3 or fewer runs at a loss. Last time was June 20th, 2016, in a 4-3 loss to the Texas Rangers. Yeah, I mean, Gunnar 3 hits today with the homer, the leadoff homer. Adley
got on base 5 times.
That's tough. I mean, it's tough to lose one like that. And it really just comes down to what we keep talking about with runners in scoring position. They've just got to be more productive in those situations. They had the one where they had the bases loaded there, and I think I forget exactly who it was that was batting, but just kind of made a mess of it, and I think hit into a double play, and that basically it felt like all she wrote for them closing the door on the game at that point. I don't even think they were trailing by then, but then obviously Tate sort of messes things up in the 8th there, and that really winds up costing them. So.
Yeah, it was tough. Ryan Mountcastle singles in the 7th. Santander lines out. Jordan Westbrook strikes out. Hayes hits a double. Runners on 2nd and 3rd there with Mountcastle and Hayes. And Cedric Mullins strikes out on a foul tip. And then in the 8th inning, Ramon Urias hit by a pitch. McCann flies out. Gunnar walks. Adley singles to load the bases. Ryan Mountcastle hits into a DP. So there's 5 runners stranded in the 7th and 8th. There for you. One with 2 outs. Okay. A little bit more difficult. Have to get a hit there, but Mountcastle unable to maybe get a sack or just move a runner, score somebody there. Definitely hurts too. And Mounty's been swinging.
You can blame me and Eric for that.
No,
we're going to take credit when he's having these.
What was he? 1 for 4 today, 3 for 5 yesterday, and I think he might have had 2 hits on Friday, at least one. Yeah. So
he had the 2 homers. Like, if we're going to take credit when he does that, which obviously I'm gonna strut my stuff and moonwalk all over Twitter when he's doing that stuff. I'll take the bad with the good. So blame me for that, Mountie.
There you go. It was not Ryan Mountcastle's fault. Cedric Mullins does rob a home run in this one. I love Cedric Mullins to death. I've been a huge fan of his. He needs to come off the bench at this point.
Yeah.
The defense, and again, people can. I get it. I'll have the discussion with you. Don't have to argue, but I get it. He can rob a home run. He does play good center field, but the inability to be productive there is devastating right now, and it feels like it has been runners in scoring position. It has been a lot of double plays, a lot of strikeouts, unable to even move guys over at points. So yeah, we have a comment here. Let's go Orioles. Let's go Brandon here. Mullen should have been pinch hit.
What a name.
6. Yeah, there you go. With O'Hearn, he's a walking disaster, hurting Mateo too. The Mateo part, you're in the circle. You're on deck. That's your territory. That's your space. I don't think Mateo should have been up in there. But of course, if Gunnar did that, no one would have said a word. If Westberg did that, no one would have said a word. O'Hearn, anybody other than Mullins would have said that. It looked like he was waiting to see if a bat boy was going to put a weight on his bat, maybe, and then realize he wasn't there.
It didn't even look like he was going that fast on the replay. Like, it didn't.
He just lowered the bat. The back of your head is it's soft back there.
Have you ever been hit by a bat, like a metal bat?
Yes.
I had a very similar thing happen to me when I was young, and it was scary. My brother literally just brought one back, and I was standing too close to him, and I got smoked. I think I had a black eye and everything. It was tough. Which probably explains a lot about me these days, but
there you go. Early onset CTE via one Mike Luke there. So yeah, it's
CTE ESPN.
CTE ESPN. It's sponsored by AB. AB sponsored the podcast with your broadcast. But ultimately, tough scene there. Mateo, who had a single in this game, has looked so good. You feel for him. Hopefully, this is not something that derails him and ends up making his mechanics and his approach and his confidence waver, because he has been that good. Do you have a couple second basemen in Norfolk that could, certainly come up at this point? Little Jackie Holiday, I think, has like a 1.1 OPS over his last 10 games. Connor Norby been chomping at the bit for like a year now. So got some options there, especially if you want a righty. But yeah, you feel for Mateo there. And again, who knows? Mateo might end up coming up clutch again. He did on Friday and drove in 2 runs, which I'm going to throw as the Clipper City tide turning play of the series, of the week there. Ultimately, Jorge Mateo, I have the clip pulled up here with an awesome play to drive in a couple runs, ends up making the difference here for the Orioles as they get into a close game and are able to pull through here. And let's see Jorge Mateo. I'll put audio on for it and watch him go drive in a couple runs.
Into left field. DeLuca won't get it. It's off the wall. And this will clear him. Hayes will come around and score. Mateo's at second. It's a 2 RBI double. And the Orioles seize the lead.
This place is fired up right now. And here comes one of those comebacks by the O's. You see a hanger up in the zone. Mateo, a bullet, 106 miles an hour out into the deepest part of that left field corner. And a 2-out, 2-strike, 2 RBI double.
So really nice play there. Really nice play there by Mateo to smoke that. I mean, that was inches from being a home run and making it a 4-1 game too. And that ended up being the difference.
Either way, like, he hits the ball hard as shit. And for a player of his profile, like, sometimes it's almost more fun to watch him just put one in play, just get directly square with it and just put it out, to where he did. And, just have the guys running around the bases. Like, he's a fun guy to watch. I know you're a huge fan of his. And listen, maybe if he has to sit for a little while, like, he's not going to naturally go into a slump. This is just kind of like, we're selling high, and then he's going to take some time off, and then he's going to come back in the lineup, hopefully very soon. And he'll continue this really nice run of play or something close to it. Jorge is a guy who's known to fall off cliffs before. Maybe this is a way of saving him from himself. But in all seriousness, do hope he's okay.
Yeah, I feel like his approach has been much better, and you're starting to see the power output from him a little bit. He's been pounding the ball into the dirt, be able to lay off stuff low and away. Him, Mountcastle, both guys that really have struggled at times with those low and away sliders, and it feels like they've done a lot better job this year, and especially as of late. What he can do on the base pads, being just an average hitter, hitting 250 for Jorge Mateo is electric. If he's on base at an average clip, he's electric. What he's done at second base has been awesome. 2 outs above average there so far, according to the old baseball savant. So you definitely feel for him, and he's been on the up and up here. And then you see the power coming through, 741 OPS. And then, gets one in the back of the head. Did not look like he was having a fun time there via Mr. Mullins' bat in the on deck.
And honestly, like, maybe forget about bringing up Little Jackie and Connor Norby anyway, because it's like, do they want to bring up 2 high-profile prospects right now? Because it feels like Cade Povich, like, that might be coming sooner rather than later now with the Means and Wells situation.
Yeah, Povich probably, I would think in the next 2 turns of the rotation, they'll probably try and time him up. Has a rough outing at Norfolk, whatever. He's, I don't know. I don't know. Could have been working on something with being called up in mind. Who knows? But has been lights out. So, I don't know. They unfortunately need those guys. So, if Mateo does need some time off, it's if it's a couple days, you do have Urias. Urias goes into the lineup. This looked okay as a bench player there. I think Urias is a really nice bench player to have. But if Mateo's unavailable for 4, 5, 6, 7 days, and lo and behold, somebody else can't go, you need another infielder. They don't have any. If Mateo has to sit, that leaves you with just really Westy, Henderson, and Urias. So I'm not sure. We'll see how that one plays out. I think Mullen said he saw Mateo eating and said he felt fine. And, I think he went up to him and was like, "I'm so sorry, buddy," whatever, friends.
Yeah, it's concussion protocol. I think Rock put it out there. They're just kind of monitoring him right now. So,
yep. So happens. Shame on Sunday. The Orioles see, like you said, Gunnar gets on base 5 times, ends up with a home run, hit. And by the end of the second inning, he had a home run, a single, a steal, and a run. 2 runs, pardon me, and ends up walking a couple times here. He's been a walk machine as of late. Adley, really nice approach at the plate today, drives in some runs, able to go and get on base that many times. I'm going to go ahead and say that's the only time you'll see those 2 guys get on base 8 times in a game and the Orioles lose. I would assume that has not happened before. Maybe. You never know with baseball, but definitely a weird situation there. And just wasn't their day. But Saturday, they go ahead and beat the crap out of Bradley there, the starter for the Rays. Ends up only going 3 1/3 innings. He hit him 9 times, 9 earned runs. They did not leave anything on base there. Allowed 4 home runs for someone that had been pretty solid up to that point there. See Mountcastle first inning, Mountcastle fourth inning, had 2 home runs by I think the second time through. Santander goes yard, Jordan Westberg goes yard there. Kyle Stowers with a double, who continues to hit really well. Probably should have been used on Sunday. Kowser's been a little bit cold. Feels like maybe ride the hot hand, get Mullins out there, maybe in that situation with runners on second and third. See if you can go to a different lefty that has had a little bit of a warmer bat there. But Mateo drives in a run as well. 2 out RBIs for Santander and Mountcastle off the home run. Orioles scored 9 runs with only going 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position. So a big home run day yesterday. Henderson hits 1 today, but not able to generate much else. And then, like we said, Friday night was just a pitching duel there, a little bit different kind of matchup and not quite the same slugfest. So got the full spectrum of outcomes in terms of runs, scoring, offense, pitching, it felt like, with Aaron Savale, who has been arguably the worst starter in baseball. No, I'm not mad at all about my parlay not hitting on Friday, but arguably the worst pitcher in baseball, ends up mowing through the Orioles for quite a bit there, silences them to a degree. He went 5 1/3 innings, allows 1 run, 1 walk, 6 hits, 3 strikeouts. And Albert Suarez, Big Bert there, throwing those bowling ball fastballs, gets through 5 innings, which was needed. Has a 1.57 ERA, lowers too. CNL Perez comes in, Cano comes in, Coulomb comes in, and then Jacob Webb comes in and records an out there. Kimbrel gets the save ultimately. So it was really a pitching masterclass from Suarez through Kimbrel on Friday night there. And bullpen really did a good job again on Saturday. So I think we look at the Sunday game, and it's the latest game, so we're the most reactive. But yesterday, the bullpen, Webb comes in, throws 2 1/3 innings. Tate comes in, throws an inning. Perez comes in, throws an inning. Cano comes in, throws an inning. And then Aiken finishes it out there. 3 hits, no walks in 4 innings on Saturday in a game where Bradish needed some help and couldn't get very deep. So the bullpen gave it. So when you look at this series as a whole, was really just Tate had, a crappy inning, maybe could have pulled a little earlier, but guys were spent up. So the bullpen was really strong in this series.
Yeah, I think I saw somebody comment on Twitter, like on the live stream itself, that the pen is trash. And I don't know, like you said, it's very easy to look at this Sunday game and react to it just in a vacuum. But overall, you're right that they don't have a superstar they can rally behind, right? Like Felix Bautista not walking through that door in the 9th inning. You're not hearing the Omar music. You don't have that guy who you feel like can come in and save the day. It's kind of much more of a platooning style situation where it's like, hey, we're going to do a little bit of Cano here, and then we're going to do, we're going to fuck around with Kimbrel when he's on the comeback, and we're going to have him be a long reliever through, 7 through 8 maybe, and then we're going to put Coulomb here, and then we're going to close the game with Aiken, and now Kimbrel's going to close again. It just feels like they've been really experimenting with stuff, and I'm sure they're working the phones, trying to find a real trade option, not some of the schmoes they've been trying to bring in here lately. And hopefully they do find one and they can kind of get that big name guy, and hopefully not for too much. It's all going to be about how much you want to give up and everything like that, because they still have plenty of prospects that I think a lot of us and a lot of, those guys in the front office are probably still very excited about as well. It'll all come down to opportunity cost. And, if this whole band-aiding it together thing continues to work and they continue to win games, I don't think you necessarily need to sell the farm. So yeah, it's just an interesting spot that they're in. And I don't know, it is tough not to have Felix Bautista. I'm just going to keep thinking that every time we get to a 9th inning of a game, and it's, maybe Kimbrel here, maybe they're going to experiment with Aiken. It's just man, it felt really nice to just have a guy who could come in and you could just feel 98% confident he's just going to slam the door right in their face. Now it's it's certainly a lot less of a sure thing, and I get why people would look at that. And just make the overall, at least on Twitter, make the overall observation that, all these guys suck. It's well, yeah, but it's one domino falls on the bullpen. All of a sudden, the whole thing comes crashing down, or a Jenga tower, like Ryan Gosling in The Big Short, if you will. It's a Jenga piece situation is what it is.
Yeah, and you go look at Emmanuel Clase in Cleveland, who is dominant. Yeah, that's what you had with Felix Bautista last year. So it's always going to be tough to replace that. And that's what I mean, not every team has to have a Felix Bautista. It does make you a lot better when you have someone like a Clase or a Bautista who can dominate, but they just don't have that real strikeout, power, fastball, catch up to it, FU presence in the bullpen. So I would expect them to look for that. And I know a lot of people want to see Vespi up, me included, see Tate's back up, things like that. But again, none of those guys, even Cano, who does throw some wicked stuff, is a little bit more in the ground ball department. Just not a lot of guys that really have that devastating power. And I would expect the Orioles, everyone's going to talk about Mason Miller. There are other options out there, and we'll see where the A's are. Maybe getting someone that's probably a little less expensive than a Miller, I think, would be the middle ground for the Orioles. But looking around, trying to find that power arm. And I do think they need to make an addition. I do think they need to make maybe several additions. This is, there's a window, and the Orioles window is probably about as big or bigger than anybody in baseball. But at the same time, you are stocked with prospects. You develop players really well. You have a lot of guys lower level, Beavers, Fabian, a lot of lower level guys. So I think it would be really unwise for them not to bolster the pen. And maybe, I don't know, man, like Corbin Burns is outstanding elite, but he's in a contract year and his agent is the devil. And he's going to go to the open market and get a lot of money. I would not count the Orioles out, knowing that Tyler Wells, knowing that John Means is out of the equation. He was a free agent anyway. Dean Kramer's hurt. That's 3 guys right now. Kramer, should be back, whatever. We'll see what happens. But Kramer's a very nice 3-4 option on probably a lot of teams in baseball, but still, Bradish is still getting stretched out. Grayson, still a developing, young stud. So I would not be remiss to think the Orioles add a lot in the pitching department in both the bullpen as well as the rotation. Povich going to come up, see what he has. I imagine that's part of the equation too. Let's see if this guy can come up and be a pro pitcher quick. Not, I feel like a lot of prospect pitchers might come up, start really strong. The report gets out on them. They struggle a little. Some get sent back down, things like that. So it's hard to rely on a Povich or a McDermott being a staple piece in a World Series run or an AL championship run, pennant run there. So you've got the ammo. They just have no reason not to. They're stocked to the gills. The infielders that they have, all of these different pieces. You've got yet another stud in Basallo, who is probably going to end up being close to, if not the number 1 prospect in baseball in the next 365 to 720 days, if he even makes it that long before getting called up. So the embarrassment of riches does spurn the question. We said it for the Ravens a lot this year, if not now, when? In baseball, it's a little different. You can just trade for an arm. They come in and they're that fucking good and can dominate. We see it every year. So I think this is a year where the Orioles...
In baseball, it's like if you're this competitive and you're a small market team and you have all this stuff working in your favor right now from a cost perspective, like it's even more of the time now than it was for the Ravens, who have, the Goodell socialism working on their side, where it's like the losers get the better draft pick and the salary cap and all that stuff. Like baseball is a much more brutal sport with a much more competitive open market, and it's a lot more difficult for a team like this to really capitalize on a year like this. So I think you're right. Like if not now, what? Big time for the Orioles.
100%. I think a big year for it. And this series, I think, was, especially in terms of the bullpen and really pitching overall, it was a showcase of where the Orioles stand, in my opinion, in a little microcosm. They've been able to make lemonade with starters, very much so. You see Suarez, they get Bradish back, Cole Irvin. That's the 3 guys that won you a series against the Tampa Bay Rays, and Bradish, ironically, being the one that gets banged up. The bullpen, makeshift guys, been able to develop, play the splits, things of that nature, got you through 2 games, but again, leaving you short, not feeling like you have a dominant guy you can return to take some of the pressure off ultimately. So I feel like good bullpen rotation, but not able to maybe be elite, not able to be dominant, not able to close out a little bit. I think that's where the Orioles will stand there. Jordan Westburg comes back into this series after getting dinged on the wrist, in the meaty part of the wrist last series, and hits a home run and looked the part. Did have a little bit of a tough play today at third base. It was going to be a barehanded throw across the diamond, things like that. But good to see him back, healthy a little bit. So a lot of guys getting beat up as the Orioles are entering this stretch with very little time off, a lot of baseball being played. It's hot out. The dog days of summer are actively beginning in the next couple weeks here. And the Orioles, as they do beat the Rays, to move to 37-20, will head to Toronto for 4 games against your Fighting Blue Jays in Canada there. Then they get the Rays again next weekend for 4 more games. That could reach a real boiling point with these teams being close, and I feel like the Rays being at kind of a breaking point themselves. Then the Orioles will host the Braves, host the Phillies. Those are both very fun. Braves maybe a little underperforming this year. Acuna out, a lot of their Strider out, a lot of their guys underperforming. Still a fun team. Matt Olson and some of the guys they have down there. But Austin Riley's also been struggling. But Phillies in Baltimore, that should be a really fun weekend series coming up 2 weekends from now as well. So as the Orioles get into those dog days, those are good, competitive, talented teams, AL East games, and then they'll head to New York. So thoughts now about this Orioles team heading into June, Jake, overall?
Yeah, honestly, it's interesting. There's been some issues, but I feel like in that respect, we haven't even seen the best of what they have to offer. And I think that's very encouraging, right? They're still a couple of games back from the Yankees, 37-20, I think is the record now. And the Yankees, I think, have 41 wins, maybe 19 losses. So still kind of lagging behind them a little bit. But overall, I don't know. With Garrett Cole is coming back. I saw that come out today. So that'll be big for New York. But outside of that, I kind of feel like we've seen the Yankees ceiling to an extent already. And if they can keep up the pace with the bombs that they're hitting, and if Soto can continue to play like the best player in the world, and Judge can continue to do what he's doing, and Garrett Cole winds up being Garrett Cole, which all those things very well may happen. That's obviously concerning for the Orioles, but I feel like the Orioles, they still have plenty of stuff in the tank that I feel like they haven't figured out yet. We talked about the bullpen. We talked about them experimenting. Maybe they figure something out there. Maybe they don't, but maybe they, kind of continue to tinker. Maybe they make a few moves and kind of get everything tightened up on that back end of the pitching staff. I think that's exciting for them. I think whenever one guy starts to slump in the batting order, another guy steps up. That's been really good as well. A couple of prospects that maybe they could call up, and then, like you said, they could probably move some of these prospects to get some real players. Even it doesn't even have to be pitching. You can go and even try to acquire a bat or something to try and really, really help power your way past the Yankees. So overall, my thoughts are Memorial Day is over now. It feels like the season is really kind of starting here in MLB, and I don't know. I think the Orioles are right among the absolute best, which I think was expected, but it's nice to see after some of the I wouldn't say difficulties, but just aesthetically, it hasn't always looked or felt the best. So for them to be in this position and just continue to go out and win series, I think is huge. And there's still a long way to go, but I like their chances very much.
Yeah, I think when you look at Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman at this point, they are consistent, stable presences at the top of that lineup, hitting 1 and 2 that are just giving teams fits. The Orioles, it's been talked about a good bit, 18-7 against teams over 500 to this point, 21-12 at home, 16-8 on the road. They have the 5th best run differential in baseball at 74 over. They have the 3rd best in baseball, tied with the Royals, just behind the Yankees at 105 and Guardians at 78. So they're playing damn good baseball. And like you said, they're able to whack-a-mole when somebody slumps, when somebody's a little bit more cold. They have been able to pick it up. I will say the one guy and the one area I do think still needs tinkering is the outfield. Cedric Mullins specifically. Colton Cowser, no secret that he has not exactly found consistency since that massive April. He's really been struggling too. We see Kyle Stowers heating up. Not even heating up, he's just playing well. And Austin Hayes hitting the ball hard again. No, he's a stable presence in the outfield. I think that the outfield is the one area, you can look at second base, of course, but the outfield is the one area in terms of positional players that needs to be sorted out, I'll say by, August. It feels like Mullins is teetering on, the end of the rope here. And the rope, it's like Indiana Jones and the rope's unwinding and it's spiraling. How much thread is left? Not much. He's going to need to really step up very quickly. And I think really it is time for him to hit the bench and see what you got in Stowers as part of that evolution of your team as the season unfolds in a long season. Give Stowers some consistent playing time. Maybe let him eat into Colton's playing time a little bit. Maybe move Colton to
and
center.
the way he's been playing lately, I know people freaking out about this guy who they just brought up and hasn't seen a ton of playing time. Well, why isn't he playing? And I understand why it's a little annoying to hear that stuff about the guys who are unknowns, but Stowers is man, when he's been given opportunities, he's produced this year. So right now it feels like the time, especially with Mullins' struggles.
Yeah. It's been a dark place, and with other options, with younger ascending players and guys that are, on control for a long time, you want to see what you have in them. So Mullins, to me, it just really feels like since that groin injury has not been explosive at the plate, has not been consistent, tried to fight through it last year, ends up being, a cold nothingness in the playoffs, and that has not gone away. We see outstanding defense again today, but the net is a negative. The net is certainly a negative above Hayes and above Colton Cowser. So Kyle Stowers has looked pretty sharp out there and has played a little center in his time too. So I think that has been, definitely the one glaring issue. Every other position has, like you said, Jake, reached a point of, oh, they were cold, they were hot. Someone else was able to balance them out. They were able to make a move. O'Hearn's been a little bit quieter over the last month. Mountcastle is hitting 450 over the last 10 days. The platoon, as you like to say, in first base, DH, things like that. Santander turned things around, hitting the ball well, looks good again. He was cold at one point. Westy, consistent. Gunner, consistent. Adley, consistent. James McCann getting a lot of playing time, but keeping Adley fresh is worthwhile there. They figure a little something out in Jorge Mateo. So really second base, center field, the two places that you need to kind of look at where you've got younger options, guys down in AAA, and figure it out. It's time to go through this gauntlet. I would think, June is a month of shit or get off the pot for Mike Elias, for Brandon Hyde, for Cedric Mullins, for, we'll see what happens with Jorge Mateo, for this bullpen. And it's not even shit or get off the pot for the staff. They are just going to have some decisions to make. I mean, Suarez and Irvin have both been very solid. Povich, as Elias said, is on the door. And to me, that says he'll be up in the next 2 rotations or so, maybe 3. And, it's June's a big month to figure things out. Maybe we're being a little pessimistic. I wouldn't even say pessimistic. The Orioles won 17 games each of the last 2 months. In 2023, the most they won in a single month was 18 games. So they're playing elite baseball. They're at the top of baseball. Their run differential, like I just said, top 5 in baseball. The Yankees happen to be in their division getting Garrett Cole back. We'll see what goes on with that. They're about to see them for a few games in a weekend in a couple weeks. And, hey, making it to the dance is all that really matters is making it to that ALDS round there. So, I feel good about this Orioles team, but June, a big month for them to figure some shit out.
Yep, definitely is. What do we got?
I think that is all we got. If you are watching on Twitter, we would love, I think we have about 500 folks watching on Twitter. Would love to have you switch over to YouTube if possible. Check out the Exit 52 YouTube page here. Would love to have you. The easiest way you can support us, doing these series recaps, the weekly episodes that the OG3 do, the Ravens content, the jumbo set that Jake and I do, as well as Brian, Taylor, everybody getting in there too. Easiest way to support us is just go subscribe to the page. Go like a video if you see it. Takes a couple seconds. That's why YouTubers all say it. Easiest way. Helps get us paid. Helps get us made here and continues to support us. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Hopefully the Orioles able to continue doing the damn thing. Good series. Kind of a little bit of a boring series in ways. Saturday, a fun game. But, not the most electrifying series of all time there. But boring baseball is okay because the Orioles are good and continue to win here. So we appreciate you guys for listening. Would love to have you on YouTube. Love. Absolutely love it. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to Clipper City, sponsor on these segments. Go check them out at 1716 Thames Street. Go get a fresh cut, shave, fade, whatever you want to do to fulfill your men's grooming needs. They do the tide turning play of the week. We went with Jorge Mateo. So if you see those videos on social, appreciate if you could support those. Go check out Jimmy's Famous Seafood, of course. If you've heard of us, you've probably already heard of them, but we appreciate everything that they do for us. And they've got a lot of fun stuff going on this summer. If you're looking to go have some crabs, go have a little bit of a Maryland fun summer thing towards the city, go check out Jimmy's. Got all kinds of fun events coming up. Go check out jimmysfamousseafood.com and check out their events page. If you want to go do some sort of fun event with some Orioles or some crab picking or karaoke, trivia, all the fun things they do, located just, 15, 20 minutes from Camden Yards.
Yep, absolutely. Also, before we go, I had a listener reach out to us down in Augusta, Georgia, by the name of Jason Moore. He's been suffering from kidney failure for the last couple of years. So he wanted us to put it out there for him that www.akidneyforjason.com is where you can find all the information on that if you would be interested in donating a kidney, which is obviously a big ask, but if for whatever reason you think you would be able to, he's located in Augusta, Georgia, and all the details are on his website. He's also got his GoFundMe there, which helps with medical expenses and everything, and all the information on that site as well. So I just wanted to give him a quick shout out.
What's the website again?
Akidneyforjason.com.
I'm trying to find it here. I think that might be with the letter 4, if I'm not mistaken, or the number 4. Pardon me. Looking for it.
I think it's spelled out.
I tried to look for it, but
it's not
Jason,
it's not like yours. It's spelled out. Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't find it when I tried to pull it up. But Jason, we love you. We're thinking of you. Definitely, please check that out. Go donate to the GoFundMe and help a fellow Baltimorean fan in a time of need.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to us as always. You can find us on, like Spenny said, YouTube, doing these series recaps twice a week. Those are also airing on Twitter and all that, but we would appreciate the YouTube outreach, subscriptions, all that good stuff. We appreciate that very much. You can find us on social media at Exit 52 Podcast across the board. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I am at Jake Luke. That's LOUQUE. Spenny's at Ravens 4 Dummies. That is the number 4 in the middle there. You can find Eric at EDITTI22, Brian at Barstool Banks, and Taylor at Taylor Smythe 10. Thanks as always, guys, and we will talk to you again very, very soon.
See ya.
Arrivederci.